Imagine for a moment stepping into your very own flying machine, one that feels more like a futuristic go-kart than a bulky aircraft. You strap in, grip the controls, and with a push of a throttle, you rise gracefully into the air. The ground falls away beneath you. The wind brushes past your face, and you suddenly realize you are experiencing something that until recently belonged purely in the realm of science fiction or superhero movies. This isn't some distant fantasy. It's the Jetson 1, a personal electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, or eVTOL, that's making the dream of personal flight closer to reality than ever before. The Jetson 1 is not just another piece of advanced technology. It's a symbol of how far human imagination has carried us. It takes the childhood dream of strapping on wings or hopping on a flying bike and brings it to life in a way that's accessible, fun, and surprisingly intuitive. Built by Jetson, a Swedish company founded by innovators Peter Ternström and Thomas Patan, the Jetson 1 is designed as a consumer-friendly aircraft meant to put the joy of flying directly into your hands. At its core, the idea behind the Jetson 1 is simple. Give everyday people the chance to fly without the need for years of pilot training or complicated licensing. Of course, it's not a toy, but it is the closest thing you can get to feeling like Iron Man in a practical, rideable form. At first glance, the Jetson 1 looks like something you'd expect to see in a futuristic racing game. It's sleek, yet minimalistic, essentially a lightweight aluminum and carbon fiber frame outfitted with 8 powerful electric rotors. Its design isn't bulky or intimidating. In fact, the openness of the cockpit makes the experience look refreshingly raw and thrilling. You're not locked away inside a cabin, but instead right out there with the sky, connected directly to the environment around you. That openness is part of what makes the Jetson 1 so exciting. It's not just transportation, it's an adventure. What sets this aircraft apart from many other eVTOLs being developed is its focus on fun and accessibility, rather than replacing cars or reinventing public transportation. Companies like Joby, Archer, and Lilium are working on air taxis meant to carry multiple passengers across cities in the coming decade. But the Jetson 1 is different. It's not trying to be a taxi or a commuter shuttle. Instead, it's designed for personal recreation and private adventure. Think of it as the aerial equivalent of a sports car or a dirt bike. Something you ride because you love the experience, not because you need it to get groceries. When you dig into the technical side, the Jetson ONE becomes even more fascinating. It weighs just under 200 pounds, making it light enough to classify under ultralight aircraft regulations in many countries, including the United States. This is an important detail, because it means that in places like the US, you don't need a pilot's license to fly it. That's a huge step toward making flying more accessible to enthusiasts. Its electric motors deliver enough thrust to lift one person up to about 210 pounds and carry them for a flight time of around 20 minutes per charge. Now, 20 minutes might not sound like much compared to hours-long commercial flights, but when you're zipping through the air in your own flying machine, those 20 minutes can feel like an eternity of adrenaline and freedom. And with quick battery swapping, it's easy to imagine owners enjoying multiple flights back-to-back. The maximum speed clocks in at around 63 miles per hour, which is fast enough to be thrilling, but not so fast as to feel unsafe. It gives you a taste of speed without pushing into dangerous territory. Safety, after all, has been a big consideration in the Jetson ONE's design. Each of the 8 motors has its own rotor, which means the aircraft has built-in redundancy. If one motor fails, The others can keep you airborne. There's also an emergency parachute that deploys automatically if something goes seriously wrong, giving pilots an added layer of reassurance. On top of that, the frame is designed with a safety cell around the pilot, like a roll cage in a race car, to protect you in case of a rough landing. Jetson has been very clear about wanting to make this aircraft not only fun, but also dependable and safe enough to build trust among early adopters. What's particularly exciting is how simple it is to fly. According to Jetson, most people can learn the basics of operating the Jetson 1 within just a few minutes. The flight controls are intuitive, with a joystick to guide direction and a throttle to control altitude. Add in the onboard flight computer that automatically assists with stabilization, and you have an aircraft that feels more like playing a video game than flying a traditional helicopter or airplane. For people who might be intimidated by the idea of piloting, the Jetson 1's user-friendly design removes that barrier. It transforms flying into something that almost anyone can enjoy without feeling overwhelmed. Another reason the Jetson 1 has captured so much attention is its potential to democratize flight in a way we've never seen before. For decades, flying your own aircraft has been reserved for the wealthy or those dedicated enough to spend years training for it. The costs of owning and maintaining a private airplane or helicopter are astronomical, not to mention the regulatory hurdles. But the Jetson 1 arrives at a price point that, while still far from cheap, is considerably more attainable for enthusiasts. At around $98,000, it's comparable to buying a high-end sports car. That's not pocket change, of course, but it suddenly makes personal flight something that's within reach for thousands of people, not just an elite handful. The first batch of Jetson 1 units sold out quickly when pre-orders opened, which shows just how hungry people are for this kind of technology. And it's not just tech enthusiasts who are excited, it's dreamers, adventurers, and anyone who's ever wanted to break free from the limits of roads and traffic. The excitement surrounding this machine speaks to something deeper: our universal human desire to fly. From the myth of Icarus to the Wright brothers' first airplane, flight has always been about freedom. And while airplanes and helicopters have achieved that on a grand scale, the Jetson 1 brings it down to a personal level where it's just you and the sky. Now, you might be wondering about where you can actually fly one of these. That's where things get interesting. Since the Jetson 1 is classified as an ultralight in the US, it doesn't require a license, but there are still rules about where ultralights can be flown. Generally, you're limited to non-congested areas, which means you can't just hop in and zip over downtown Manhattan or Los Angeles. Instead, think open fields, rural areas, or private properties with enough space for safe takeoff and landing. For many enthusiasts, that's part of the appeal. It's a chance to explore the countryside, forests, or lakes from a new perspective, like a personal adventure vehicle. There's also the fact that eVTOLs like the Jetson 1 are environmentally friendly compared to traditional aviation. Because it's fully electric, it doesn't burn fossil fuels or emit greenhouse gases during flight. Of course, the electricity to charge it has to come from somewhere, but as the world shifts toward renewable energy, the Jetson 1 fits right into a greener future for personal mobility. It's not just about fun. It's also about reimagining what sustainable aviation could look like. Beyond its recreational use, you can also imagine how vehicles like this might evolve in the future. The Jetson 1 itself is aimed squarely at enthusiasts right now, but it hints at a world where personal aerial vehicles could become as common as motorcycles or ATVs. Picture a future where small flying craft are used for quick commutes, search and rescue missions, or even leisure tourism. The Jetson 1 is a first step toward normalizing the concept of owning your own aircraft, and even if it's not yet practical for daily commuting, it shows us what's possible. The emotional side of the Jetson 1 is equally important to talk about. Flying one isn't just about getting from point A to point B. It's about how it makes you feel. Pilots who've tested it describe the sensation as exhilarating, almost like rediscovering flight for the first time. The openness of the design means you're not cut off from the world around you. You feel the wind, you see the landscape without barriers, and you're fully immersed in the experience. That's a very different feeling than being inside a plane at 30,000 feet, looking through a tiny window. It's intimate, visceral, and freeing in a way that connects directly with our instincts. Of course, like any new technology, the Jetson ONE faces challenges. Flight time is limited, infrastructure for personal eVTOLs doesn't really exist yet, and there are regulatory hurdles to overcome as governments decide how to handle this new category of aircraft. But those are growing pains, not dead ends. Every revolutionary technology goes through them, and the important thing is that the Jetson 1 has already proven that the dream is possible. The interest, the demand, and the excitement are all there. It's also worth noting how this project has captured the imagination of the public compared to other futuristic technologies. While many eVTOL startups are focused on corporate partnerships or large-scale air taxi networks, Jetson has gone directly to consumers. That's a bold move because it positions them not just as another aerospace company, but as a brand that connects directly to individuals. In a way, it's like Tesla in the early days, creating not just a product, but a cultural moment around it. As more people get to experience the Jetson 1, it's likely to inspire others to push the boundaries of what personal aviation can be. Already, competitors are watching closely, and we can expect to see similar designs emerging in the coming years. That competition will likely drive innovation, making these aircraft faster, safer, cheaper, and eventually more practical for everyday use. The Jetson 1 may be the first to truly capture the world's imagination, but it won't be the last. Think about the story you'll be able to tell if you ever climb into one yourself. You'll remember the anticipation as the rotors spin up, the thrill of lifting off the ground, and the moment you look down to see the world from a completely new angle. You'll remember the freedom, the excitement, and maybe even the disbelief that you're flying something that looks like it belongs in a science fiction film. These are the kinds of experiences that stay with you forever, and that's why people are lining up to buy one. In the bigger picture, the Jetson 1 represents something even larger than itself. It's a reminder of what human ingenuity can achieve when we refuse to stop dreaming. It's easy to get caught up in the challenges of the modern world, traffic jams, climate change, endless commutes, and forget that technology is also capable of giving us joy and wonder. The Jetson 1 is a piece of joy you can fly. It's a bridge between imagination and reality, showing us that the skies don't have to belong only to airlines and military jets. They can belong to us too. So, while the Jetson 1 may not replace your car or become the default way of commuting anytime soon, it's already succeeded in sparking imaginations around the world. It proves that flying for fun, for the sheer thrill of it, doesn't have to be out of reach. And maybe that's the most important part of all. Not that it's practical, not that it's efficient, but that it reminds us what it feels like to dream. And as more people take to the skies in their Jetson ONEs, we may find ourselves on the cusp of a new era in personal mobility. An era where roads are no longer the only way to travel, where the horizon isn't just something you look at, but something you can fly toward. For now, the Jetson 1 is a marvel, a toy for the bold and adventurous, but in time, it could be the spark that changes the way we think about getting around. One flight at a time, it's rewriting the story of what's possible.